Welcome to my presentation. In this presentation, we shall see how to represent improper fractions. Let me take an example in here. In this example, I'm going to, let's say I have three circles like that. Let's say I have three circles like that, and I'm going to divide these three circles into parts like that, into three parts like that. This is part 1, 2, and 3 for the first circle, part 1, 2, and 3 for the second circle, part 1, 2, and 3 for the third circle. And then if I were to say, I want to shade the whole of the first circle, the whole of the second circle, like that, and part of the third circle, just the part 1 and part 2, like that, and then leave the third part alone. I want to be able to represent an improper fraction using these three figures. So as step number 1, I'm going to say in the first circle there are three parts which are shaded out of the total of three parts which are available to me, plus in the second circle there are three parts which are shaded out of the total of three parts which are available to me, and in the third part there are two parts which are shaded out of the total of three parts which are available to me. So in the second step, I'm going to come back and then simplify this. The common denominator for these three fractions is 3, and I'm going to, when the denominators are the same, I'm going to add the numerator parts. For the first fraction, I have the numerator as 3. For the second fraction, the numerator I have is 3. And for the third fraction, the numerator part I have is 2. So I'm going to write the denominator once, like that, and then add the numerator parts. 3 plus 3 is 6. 6 plus 2 is 8. So as you can see, 8 parts are shaded for all the three circles in here. So when the numerator 8 over 3 is a improper fraction because the numerator is larger than the denominator. So at the step number 3, we're going to say the numerator, which is represented as NR, the numerator, let me write this a little better, numerator NR represents numerator, is larger than the denominator. The denominator is represented as DR. When the value of the numerator is larger than the denominator, we call those types of fractions as improper fractions. Improper fractions. Okay, so that is a good way of looking at a figure and then being able to identify the number of parts which are shaded in those figures, and then being able to come up with a fraction, and then looking at that final fraction and make a decision based on the value. If the numerator value is larger than the denominator value, then we call it as an improper fraction. Let us take another example. This time I'm going to have some triangles. Let's say I have three triangles like this. Triangle number 1, triangle number 2, and triangle number 3. These are the three triangles I have, and I'm going to draw another triangle inside this triangle like that, and I'm going to name these different parts in here, 1, 2, 3, and 4. And for the second triangle, 1, 2, 3, and 4. And for the third triangle, 1, 2, 3, and 4. These are the four parts we have for these triangles. And as step number 1, we're going to say, okay, before I do that, I want to say that I'm going to shade all the parts of the first triangle, shade all the parts of the second triangle, like that, and I'm going to shade just one part of the third triangle, like that. Now, in the first triangle, there are 4 parts to the triangle. 4 parts are shaded out of the total of 4 parts which are available to us. Plus, in the second triangle, 4 parts are shaded out of the 4 parts which are available to us, out of a total of 4 parts which are available to us. In the third triangle, 1 part is shaded out of the 4 parts which are available to us. So therefore now we're going to find the common denominator for these fractions. For the common denominator is 4. For the first fraction, the numerator is 4. For the second fraction, the numerator is 4. For the third fraction, the numerator is 1. Since we have a common denominator, we write the common denominator once, and then we add the numerator parts. 4 plus 4 is 8. 8 plus 1 is 9. So in between these 3 triangles, 9 parts are shaded. Between these 3 triangles, 9 parts are shaded. The numerator value is larger than the denominator value, and therefore we can classify this as a improper fraction. So as step number 3, we're going to say the numerator value, the NR represents the numerator, is larger than the denominator value, which is represented as DR. The numerator value is larger than the denominator value, and therefore in step number 4, we're going to therefore call these types of fractions as improper fractions. Improper fractions. We call these as improper fractions. When we draw these figures out, and when we are able to identify the number of parts which are shaded to the number of parts which are available to us, and when we simplify those fractions, and depending upon the value what we have in the numerator and the value what we have in the denominator, we should be able to make a decision based on the values we have. In this case, since the numerator value, which is 9, is larger than the value in the denominator, which is equal to 4, therefore we classify these as improper fractions. In my next presentation, we shall see how to represent mixed numbers.